And I think it's time to get started. Hey, welcome to At the Track Live. I am Coach James. I am the creator and the lead instructor for All About Aerodynamics. As I like to say, even if you didn't ask, I'm going to tell you. What is All About Aerodynamics, you ask? I know you didn't ask, but I'm going to tell you because it's important. All About Aerodynamics is, if I can bring that up, yeah, there we go. All right, All About Aerodynamics is a science program where I use Hot Wheels cars to teach kindergarten through 6th grade students all about aerodynamics, about downforce, about lift, about drag, about kinetic energy, about potential energy, about a whole range of physics-related physics-related topics. And after I've taught the students all the science, then I bring in hundreds and hundreds of Hot Wheels cars, and each student picks a Hot Wheels car to race based on everything they've learned about physics and aerodynamics and downforce and lift and drag and elastic energy and potential energy and Isaac Newton and his 3 laws of motion. And we set up a 20-foot track, and the students have a series of drag races, and they observe how their cars perform. Did their cars perform up to or below their expectations? And we're using the scientific method, so they document how the car performed and whether or not they would select that car again if they had another opportunity. And it's a lot of fun, and I enjoy teaching the classes, but one thing about it is that if I'm bringing in hundreds of Hot Wheels cars for students to use and in these experiments, I have to be able to document and keep track of all the cars that I bring into the classroom. And in order to do that, I have to take pictures of the cars, I have to log them into a spreadsheet, I have to take a short video and document some other information, the name of the car, the year it was manufactured, etc. And up until about 5 or 6 months ago, the way I would do that is I would just get a bunch of cars because, like every Hot Wheels enthusiast collector, every time I go to a store that sells Hot Wheels, I always make my way down to the Hot Wheels aisle and see if there's anything new, anything that I find particularly interesting or cool, or something that I think that the students would like. And I buy those cars and I bring them back and I put them in these storage bins because I can't integrate them into the All About Aerodynamics program until I have documented and cataloged the cars. So what I would do is I'd get a bunch of cars, sit down, crack them open, take the pictures, take the video, enter the information into a spreadsheet while I was watching TV or something. And it was pretty boring and kind of mundane. So what I decided to do is turn something that I have to do into something that's fun to do. So that is how AtTheTrack.live, AtTheTrack.live was born. And what it is I'm going to take about 6 cars. I've kind of worked out that 6 is essentially good enough to get us through about 2 hours. Take 6 cars out of storage, crack those open, take a look at them, do a quick review, look at everything about the car, the shape, the wheels, the everything. We'll just take an overview of the car. I'll get my pictures, I'll drop it into the spreadsheet, and then after we've gotten all 6 cars cataloged, the track is set up. And why let a good Hot Wheels track go to waste? I won't. So we'll take those 6 cars, take them out to the track, and have our series of drag races for the day to find out which car is the fastest of the new bunch. Pretty simple. But there is also an interactive component to AtTheTrack.live, and that's where you come in. If you go to AtTheTrack.live, you will find 3 things. You'll find the YouTube and Twitch links, which you don't need because you're already here. But then the third thing you'll find is an option that says choose a car. And with the choose a car option, you can pick a car to race on our track. So if you select choose a car, it will take you to this page. And on this page, you will be able to scroll through and you will be able to see the fruits of all my hard work documenting and cataloging these cars. And each car is numbered and you can scroll through. And when you see a car that you think would be faster than one of the cars that we already cracked open, all you have to do is select it. And how do you select it? Well, first of all, you can click on the car and see a close-up picture. So let's say you think this bullet nose car is going to be the one. So you click on that, you can see a close-up picture, take a look at it. And if you decide, yeah, I think the bullet nose is going to be faster than whichever car Coach James just cracked open, then each car has a number. You just take that number and you can drop it right into the chat. And then I will go and find that car, pull it, and then we will take it out to the track and we will see if the car that you picked is in fact faster than whichever car we happen to crack open. And there are, I think at last count, there are, and some of these cars, and the good thing I'll quickly mention is that there are a range of cars. There are cars from the 70s and 80s. There are cars from the 90s. I'm trying to build up and get more cars from the 90s because that was an area where there was a period of time where I wasn't collecting Hot Wheels cars. The ones from the 70s and 80s are the ones that I had when I was a kid. For example, this Corvette Stingray, the gold hot ones. I definitely played with this car, and it has the battle scars to prove it. But this is one of the older cars that I had. And then as I got a little older, I stopped collecting Hot Wheels cars and was interested in other things. And then in 2001, when my son was born, as he got a little older, started buying Hot Wheels cars, and we would have races and essentially do the same thing that we do with All About Aerodynamics. We were just doing it between the two of us with the cars that we had. And so there's a lot of cars from the 2000s, and then especially the last few years that I've been doing All About Aerodynamics, I've really been stepping up sort of my Hot Wheels car purchasing. But usually what I'll do, I like this one, this Bugatti Chiron. I don't remember if that one is fast on the track. The real car, of course, is incredibly fast, but Hot Wheels and 1/64 scale is a whole different ball game. But so yeah, I'm trying to fill in the gaps with my collection, especially cars from the 90s. I find a lot of very interesting designs of those cars, and usually where I'll pick those up is here in LA. There's a Hot Wheels swap meet. There's probably more than one, but there's one that I know about that happens at a park in Pasadena twice a month, and you can go, this rubber ducky car, I don't remember if that one is fast. I think a student has picked that one, but I don't remember. Lamborghinis are always popular. Here is a gold Roger Dodger that I definitely had when I was a kid. I have 2 of those. I have this one that is in excellent condition, and then I have this one, which is one that I played with a lot more, that is completely beat up, and the wheels don't spin. The axles are apparently bent, so that's why this one is not in the group of cars that is available to pick from. Let's see, where else? But one of the things, that's interesting. So, I'm sorry, it was just a technical thing. I was trying to figure out why the logo didn't disappear when I brought up the All About Aerodynamics logo, and it's just some technical thing that I can work out later. But the swap meet, it's once a month, and I was planning to go tomorrow, but it's raining here in LA, and it's in this park, and so depending on how long the rain goes on, it will probably make the park kind of muddy and swampy, and in all likelihood, I presume that the swap meet will be canceled. If it's not canceled, then I'll probably go, but it doesn't look good, so I might have to wait till next month. But that isn't going to stop me from having new cars with AtTheTrack.live, because I've got hundreds in storage. But there are, let me see, I pulled a bunch of cars. Usually I already have it narrowed down to the 6 cars that I'm going to open up and race. But this week I was kind of going back and forth, and so I just pulled out a bunch. And so now I have to pick through. I have about a dozen here to choose from. So once we get down to the 6 cars, those 6 cars will race, and then we will get a winner for today's tournament. That car, that winner, will then have to face our fastest in fleet car, our grand champion, the fastest car in the All About Aerodynamics at the Track Live garage. That is currently this Mazda Miata MX-5. And this car has gone, at this point, 3 weeks as the fastest car in the All About Aerodynamics at the Track Live fleet. And you might be saying, well, so what? What does that mean? Well, what it actually means is that this car has beaten out every car that has faced it. And not only has it beaten out every car that it's faced, but it has beaten the fastest cars that went. So we're going to take our 6 cars, we're going to have them race, we're going to get a winner. That winner is going to challenge the Mazda. If that car wins, that car will be the new fastest in fleet, but if it loses, the Miata remains the champion. So for 3 weeks, the Mazda has beaten the car that has won the mini tournament. In addition, when it first was introduced, the Mazda beat all 6 cars, or the other 5 cars that it was introduced with. So this is the fastest car. Now, if you think you can pick a car that is faster, all you have to do, once again, is go to AtTheTrack.live. It's down there, scan the QR code, but I don't know why you do that if you're watching. And go to AtTheTrack.live, take the number of the car that you want to see race, put it into the chat. And if that car can beat the other 6 cars that I pull, and let's say your car beats those 6 cars and is the fastest, then it will take on the Mazda. Now, we did get a request through our Instagram account, which I would advise you to follow us on Instagram at AA Aerodynamics. You can see it down there in the corner, because that is where there will be announcements about different things that are happening with the races. We're starting to have some more things in the stories, and anytime we're going to be coming up live and having races, then that information will be first appear in our Instagram stories. And we got a comment on one of the posts about the Mazda from Jimbo the Salmon, and he wanted to see the Mazda race a Cadillac V16 concept car. So I checked, and that's a car that I don't have. So I found one on eBay, and the one that I found came in a 2-pack. There were 2 different versions of the car. One version was a standard mainline Hot Wheels, which mainline just means sort of the standard cars that you will find in Target and Walmart just hanging on the shelf. But then the other version was from the Faster Than Ever line. And I don't know if Hot Wheels is still making those or if they have different names for them. I've heard that the color shifter cars are essentially similar. Anyway, the Faster Than Ever was a line of cars, and the axles on the cars are different. I don't remember if they're nickel plated or there's something different with the axles, which allows the wheels to spin more freely with less friction. So in theory, those cars should be faster. So we'll find out. I mean, I do have Faster Than Ever cars in the group, but until someone picks them, then I won't know how they'll perform on the track. And also, a lot of the Hot Wheels that when someone says, "Oh, this is the fastest Hot Wheels car," blah blah blah, they're talking about on a gravity track. And we have a video on our YouTube channel where we compare our launcher to a gravity track, and our launcher generates more speed than a gravity track, and therefore there's different. Picking a car to win on a gravity track, you're taking different things into consideration than you do with our track, which is a flat drag track in which we use a launcher, a very powerful launcher. So so I ordered that car on eBay, and it was a 2-pack, so there's going to be 2 versions. There's going to be the standard mainline version, and then there will be the Faster Than Ever version. And they were supposed to get here. The range was either yesterday or today. I checked before I came up here, and the car is supposed to be delivered between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. today. So with my luck, it'll show up just after we finish the stream. But don't worry, because that just means that next week we'll have some time to build up to that race. But that all presumes that the Mazda is going to remain the fastest car in the fleet, which is no guarantee, because some of the cars I've pulled, I have a feeling, are either going to give it a really good challenge, or they're going to just beat it straight up. So we can go ahead and get ready to take a look at those. But it reminds me, so one of the things that I've been experimenting with this week has been Instagram. In the last month and a half, 2 months, finally allowed everyone to go live from the desktop. And so what does that mean? It means that I can use the software that I use to produce AtTheTrack.live on Instagram. Before, you could go live on your phone or your tablet, but you couldn't do it from the desktop, which meant that I couldn't add in graphics or change scenes and different things like that, or bring in my web page or all kinds of different things. So it was available on desktop for a limited group of trial people or something, but they finally released it for everyone. And so I've been putting together a broadcast specifically for Instagram, to go live on Instagram. And I've been working through some technical things, because obviously the Instagram format is going to be vertical, and this is currently a widescreen. So I've had to change some things, and I think this week we'll finally get into it. And what the Instagram live version of At the Track Live will be the car hunt series. And what that means is when I go out and find cars at the store, bring them back and just take a quick look at them. I'm not going to crack them open, just going to take a look at the cars that I've picked up. And why car hunt? Because for people who collect Hot Wheels cars, that's how they refer to going out to look for cars, car hunting. So we will have an At the Track Live, and all about aerodynamics At the Track Live car hunt series on Instagram, which is just one more reason why you should follow us on Instagram. And let's see, I know I have, there we go. There it is, right up there. There it is. AA Aerodynamics. That is our Instagram handle, and so you can follow us there. And you can also make recommendations throughout the week. If you find a car, if you go through the list and you see a car that you would like us to race, go ahead, shoot us a message, let us know the car. But it is time now to figure out which of the cars we are going to introduce today that is going to have a chance to beat out the Miata and become our fastest in fleet car. So, and currently we have 561 cars in the fleet. So if you go to that webpage, scroll through, 561 cars you have to choose from. Well, actually 560, because you can't pick the Miata. So after today, we'll be up to 567. So we're moving. We'll be at 600 in no time, which is crazy because I thought when we were at 200, that was a big thing. But nevertheless, let's see which car we are going to introduce first today. And this one is one that I picked up a few months ago. And see, I'm going to need to take... See, this was a technical thing that I was working out that I should have... There we go. I guess I'll have to do it manually. Take that off for right now. We've got this one, the Alfa Romeo GTV6 3.0. And this was one that I picked up in the airport a few months ago at this FAO Schwartz store here at LAX. And paid way too much. It was $4.99. But at the time I hadn't seen it. And the cars that they usually have at this particular store, I usually don't see those in the regular stores for quite a while. So anyway, let's crack this one open and see how it looks. Okay. Get this one over here. All right, let's take a look. All right, so we have this Alfa Romeo, and one of the first things that I'm noticing, and one of the things that made me pick it up, let me lock in this focus and start shooting the video. One of the things that made me pick it up were the wheels. I hadn't seen wheels like this on a Hot Wheels car before. It's quite possible there are other Hot Wheels cars that have wheels like this, but I hadn't seen them, and so that definitely caught my eye. And it's just a good looking car. I like the shape. I like the white with the decals. Really stand out and pop. But I really like those wheels, and I think this car, I think it may come looking for the Mazda. It may be ready to take the title. Alfa Romeo. This is the GTV6 3.0. All right. And I take the video because there is an online version of All About Aerodynamics. And with that version, the students need to be able to get a 360-degree view of the car so that they can, make an informed decision. And so I'll use the video and the still pictures to help them do that. So let's go to photos, zoom in a bit, right there. Get this a little more lined up. And I like these 3/4 views. I always want to try and make sure that the students can, if they're only using the picture and not the video, I want to make sure that they are able to get a good sense for both the front and the back of the car. All right, that looks good. Okay, so we've got that picture. Let me check the year because I do enter that information into the spreadsheet, the manufacturing year. 2022. All right, so we've got the Alfa Romeo. We have that. It is 2022, so I'll put that in. And now, let's see which car is going to be next up. Let's see. I have some trucks, but what I've found with the trucks, which is something I didn't take into consideration, is that especially the ones where the tires stick out a little wider than the body, tend to be a little too wide to fit in the launch channel on our track. So I'm gonna have to figure out what to do with the with those at some point. Let's see. Now I have and so I also like to go back and forth between actual cars and fantasy cars. And fantasy cars are obviously cars that don't exist in the real world, or they're concept cars or prototypes. And then there's the real cars. So there are Alfa Romeos out there. I haven't necessarily seen a GTV6 3.0 Alfa Romeo, but they exist. So that's an actual car. So let's go opposite route and let's go fantasy car. And this car is taken from the Netflix Fast and Furious Spy Racers series. And this is the Macalister Motors Superfin. And it is clearly designed like a hypercar. And let's crack it open and take a look. All right, let's get it up here. First of all, oh, okay. So it's got a little special feature that wasn't noted on the packaging. So let's go ahead and take a look. So this is the Fast and Furious Spy Racers Macalister Motors Superfin. And you see that it's got a it's got a big wing in the back, but it's got these fins that are connecting, which you typically don't see. So how will that affect, I can use my trusty pointer. How will that affect the aerodynamics? If you turn and kind of look here, you can see that it's open right there in the middle and on both sides. So, you know, how will the air interact with the car as it goes over the roof, comes down, and enters these channels? Will that help? Will that hurt? Because of the speed that's generated from our launcher, the air really does have an impact on these cars. And just like in real life, the faster an object is moving, in this case a car, the faster the object is moving through the air, the more that the air impacts the performance of the car and the speed. So with this one, the special feature that I mentioned that I noticed is I saw that on the bottom there's a little switch right here. I'm like, okay, what is that? And so when I hit that switch, then it extends out the back of the car. Let me see if it... Now, it pops out the back. It extends that part out right there. So that extends out, and that is... maybe that's the Superfin part of the design. I don't know. Maybe that's the part that makes it super instead of just the Macalister Motors fin cars. That's what makes it super. I don't see how that could possibly help in our races, but it's probably... I think I watched the show a couple years ago, but I don't recall what this feature represented in the show. I don't know. Maybe there was some kind of like turbo boosting super power. I don't know. But when this car races on the track, this part is going to be definitely tucked all the way in, because there's going to be no benefit to having that part of the car stick out in that way. So right now, let me take this picture. Take the still picture first. I think the Mazda, I think, is going to have some serious competition, even just based on these two cars, because just based on the aerodynamics. And another thing that I always mention, that I always look at, is the back of the car. And you want a car that has a flat back. I've mentioned this before, because our launcher has these blocks, these square blocks that push the cars out. And cars that have flat backs are able to press up against the launchers, and they get a better push out of the gate. They get the more surface area that's touching the block, the better. Cars that come to a point in the back usually get pushed off and get weird launches and don't tend to do as well. So one thing about the Mazda is it has a big wing in the back, but it's flat. It's not curved, it's flat. So it gets a really good push out of the starting block. So there is that. All right, I've got the picture. Let me get the video. Let's get this thing turning. And now we'll take a whole 360-degree view of this car while I enter the information into the spreadsheet. Let me lock in the focus. All right, let's see. This is car number 563. This is the Macalister Motors Superfin. And is it the Superfin 3? No, just the Superfin. Okay. There were some other cars in the in this Fast and Furious Spy Racer series that I probably have. There's one, the Hyperfin, which is interesting because it doesn't have... It's called the Hyperfin, but it doesn't have a fin. It's a really low, flat race car. So that's kind kind of interesting. Let's see here. And I didn't get the year yet, but I will grab that as soon as this car comes around. So far we have the Alfa Romeo and we have this Superfin. So those are two, good, got that video. Two cars that really should, especially that Alfa Romeo. I don't know why, but I kind of think that will do well, but we shall see. Okay, so now let's go back and see which car will be next. Next up, we will go with let's see. So we've gone reality, fantasy. So I guess let me see if I have a reality. Okay. Well, here's one. Since the two Cadillacs have not arrived yet, we will go with this other Cadillac, and this one is the Cadillac Elmiraj, and it looks very much like a legit actual Cadillac. I'm just not familiar with the Elmiraj model, but boom, here it is. It is a two-door Cadillac. So let's crack this open and see what it looks like. Let me just check on this Superfin, the year. And there is no year listed. Oh, brother. Well, oh no, there it is, 2019. Cool. All right, so let me pop that in right here, 2019, and then crack open Cadillac Elmiraj. This will be our stand-in Cadillac for the day. This is a nice looking car. I don't know if it's going to be fast, but this is a nice looking car. I wouldn't mind having one of these in real life. Cadillac Elmiraj. Let's take a closer look. Right here. Yeah, this is a good looking car. Let me lock in this focus right there. And go ahead, shoot this video. I like the color. I like the wheels. It seems a little heavy, just sort of my initial impression pulling it out, but who knows? But now I'm seeing, if you notice, as it comes around, look at the back. It comes to a point. So it's probably that's not going to help. It needs to have, if the back were flat, I'd give it a better shot. But when the cars come to that point, even though it's subtle on this car, when the cars, oop, bump the camera. That's straight. When the cars have that point in the back, they just don't get as clean a launch as some of the other cars that have a flat back. But we will see. It's the whole, as I always say, you've got to race the cars, because other than that, it's just speculation and guessing and all of that, even though the guesses are educated guesses because they're based on observations that I've made watching, at this point, probably thousands of Hot Wheels races. But nevertheless, we've got the Cadillac Elmiraj. I'm going to check to see if this car is, in fact, heavy, because it seems so. Let's see. This car weighs 35.9 grams. So it's got a plastic base and a metal body, which most of the Hot Wheels cars these days are one or the other. The Superfin is 34.2 grams, so that's relatively comparable. The Alfa Romeo is 32.5 grams, and if I remember correctly, I think the Mazda is like around 30, 31. Yeah, it's 30 grams. So the Mazda is 30, and so we've got 30, 30, 32, 35. So these cars aren't, so the weight isn't going to be completely dissimilar. So far we've got 3 cars up, ready to challenge the Mazda. And let's see, so we've got the Alfa Romeo, we've got the Macalister Superfin, and we've got the Cadillac Elmiraj. So again, we've got reality, fantasy, reality. So now it's time for another fantasy car. Let's see if I've pulled out enough or another. How about we go with the, I know we have one of these in there before, this GT. We have this GT Racer, which, this car, and I'm almost dead certain there's another of these, and I think it is, it's got like some cartoon monkey theme to it. So then the other one, the other fantasy car I have over here is this Leinster prototype, which it looks crazy right here because it's green and there's a green screen, so you can't really see it. But this is another car that I'm pretty sure I have in there. So let me do this. Let me check the spreadsheet. And just a reminder, you can go to AtTheTrack.live. There's still time. Go to AtTheTrack.live, select, choose a car, and then you can scroll through and find the car that you're looking for. Now, what would be ideal, and this is one of the things that I'm kind of upset about with the web host, is that this search bar, the search function does not work well at all. And so it would be helpful if I could just type in the name of the car and get a listing. It worked at one point, but it just hasn't worked well, and people have complained. But I am going to instead just look at, oh, there it is, right? See, there it is. I knew it had a, see, I knew it. There it is right there. So 67. So we have a GT Racer, which is this car that I pulled, and I don't know, I mean, they're basically the same car, and I don't like putting duplicates in. So I think since we have a GT Racer, then I will leave this one out, and this one will become a prize car. And so I give those away to students for doing a good job in class, for you know, getting the right answer on something, or just doing a good job. So and my only hesitation is this car, this green GT Racer that's already in the fleet. I think I got that loose, and so it had been used, and sometimes the used cars, you know, kids have played with them or whatever, and it's fine, but they don't, you know, maybe something's happened with the axle or the wheel or something, and it doesn't necessarily perform as well as it should. So before I put this new fresh GT Racer, before I put that into the mix, I think I will just set it aside until I have a chance to test out the test out this green one to make sure, just to check it over and make sure there's nothing wrong with it. And this Cadillac Elmiraj, that was 2014. So let's get that cataloged. Got it. Which brings me back to the Leinster prototype, which is another car that I'm almost certain I have. So I'm checking right now. Yep. Car number 477. Car number 477. So let's go back over here and see what our existing Leinster prototype looks like. Car 477. That's relatively recent. 476. Oh, there it is. Yep. The Leinster prototype. Here we go. And there it is. It's apparently glows in the dark. So, so this other Leinster prototype, this one, this green one, is going to be a prize car. Cool looking little car, but that's going to be a prize car. And the GT, we're going to have to wait and see if that becomes a prize car. And therefore, those are two cars. So it looks like today's lineup is going to be a lot more, have a lot more actual cars than it does fantasy cars, because we are going to go to the next one, which is, how about this one? How about this BMW M3 G2? BMW M3 G2. This one has a very similar look to the Miata. Actually, no, not really. But let's take a closer look. Crack it open. All right, the BMW. Get it on the turntable here. And let's go ahead and take a look. All right, let me lock in this focus. And there we go. So this car, one thing I noticed immediately, one thing I always look for, is look at that wing in the back. And it's straight. And that is a good sign. It is going to get a good push out of the launcher, and that suggests that it may be ready to take out the Mazda. I think this is going to be, this lineup so far is looking like it's going to be the Mazda's biggest test. There aren't any cars, maybe that Cadillac may be a little slow, but beyond that, these other cars, I can see any of them really taking out the Mazda. But the Mazda has proven that it's pretty fast, so we will see. But this is a good looking car, BMW M3 G2. And now another thing I noticed is that the tires, stop this, switch over to the photo, this as well. The tires are a little narrow, and it may not be all that clear. And evident, but these tires are a little narrow compared to, let's say, the tires on the Mazda. See if we can get this car to stand to stay put. Yeah, maybe they're not. No, they definitely are. They're a little smaller, and if I had my calipers, then I could just go in and tell you exactly. But they definitely are just slightly smaller. It's noticeable, but not how much of a difference it will make, I don't know. Are they? It's very. Maybe they're not. I don't know. There's something about them. I would really have to measure. If there's a difference, it's very minimal. So I don't know that will make a huge difference. They're definitely not the widest of the Hot Wheels tires. But let's see. Let me get this zoomed in. Okay. Lined up there. Definitely bumped the camera at some point. And lock in the focus. And there we go. We've got our BMW M3 GT2. So that is pretty good right there. Let me take that. And again, I like that flat wing in the back. So this is 2011. So let's go ahead and pop that in. So we're up to that was car number 565. Just double check something. Yeah, 2011. All right. So we got that car. So how many have we gotten so far? So far we have 4. Alfa Romeo, the Macalister Superfin, the Cadillac Elmiraj, and the BMW M3. So now let's see. We are really going to put this car. Let me see if I have any fantasy cars back here. Any fantasy cars? Just waiting. So I do have one, but once again, let me just check the spreadsheet to make sure that I'm not duplicating anything. So let's see, sort the column, and we are looking for the C L. No, we don't. Okay, great. So I am going to, let's see, A to Z. We are going to introduce a fantasy car. I thought I might be duplicating something, but I am not. And so this one's interesting because this is the sort of epitome and definition of fantasy car. And that would be this one, the Cloud Cutter. And it's got a fighter jet inspired body style. So let's crack this one open and take a look. What's the year on this one? 2012. So let me get this cracked open. Okay. The Cloud Cutter. Let's get this over here. Okay, now this is all metal, but it's very light. There isn't a lot to it. Let's take a look at this one. You can definitely see the fighter jet styling in that. So let me try and line it up to get a good picture. cloud cutter. That's locked in. All right, and let's get some video. And lock in focus. And get the video. All right, so he pulled out a fantasy car, and as it comes around, I want to take a look at the back end to see if it's flat enough, and it appears to be relatively flat. It's got these kind of turbine engines, something at the back, and those should press up pretty well against the launching block. And this car, again, another threat to the Mazda, because it's light. The back is basically flat, and it should get a pretty solid push. Now, whether or not it's all metal construction, but it's still pretty light. Whether or not that's enough to keep it on the track is something we'll have to see. But initial impressions are this is another car that really could take the title. This is shaping up to be one of the most competitive sets of races that we've had. The only car I really have kind of a question about is the Cadillac, but the rest of these, put it like this, if any of these cars, other than the Cadillac, if any of these cars were to win, I can actually see a case and a reason why that would happen. But until you, as Ric Flair said, to be the man, you have to beat the man. And right now, the Mazda is our champion. And until it's beaten out on the track, everything else is just speculation. So let's get a good picture of this one. Kind of want to be able to see the back just a little. That's pretty good. Turn it a little more. All right, and that a little more lined up right there. Got the picture. Okay, so now we've got the cloud cutter, and I'm curious about the weight. So let's see here. The cloud cutter weighs in at 32.1 grams. So it's right there with the weight is very similar. It feels lighter, and I think part of it is that it's all metal construction. So, but it feels lighter. But I think the fact that it's all metal brings that weight up. So it's right in line with the other cars in the group. So far, we have 5. We've got the Alfa Romeo. We have the Macalister Superfin, the Cadillac Elmiraj, the BMW M3, and the Cloud Cutter. So, one more car to be dropped into this grouping, and I just need to check because I don't like to duplicate the cars. I like to avoid that as much as possible. So, just checking. And let's see. So cars that are always popular with the students for good reason, especially when I'm telling them to take aerodynamics and the shape of a car into consideration. One car that they almost always come back to without fail are Lamborghinis. And we have a different one. So I was checking to make sure, because there are a lot of Lamborghinis in the set, so I wanted to make sure I wasn't duplicating it. And no, here we have the 2016 Lamborghini Centenario Roadster. And Lamborghinis, kind of hit or miss. Some of them are too light. Like there's one out there that I use when I'm testing the track to get everything aligned before the races, and it will not stay on the track. It's too light, and it takes off and crashes every single time. We'll see if this Lamborghini has better luck. So let's crack it open, take a look. All right, let's get this up here. Good looking car. Feels a little light, but you know, we'll have to wait and see if that's actually the case. Let's get switched over here. Take that off. And the Lamborghini Centenario. See, that's a pretty good and accurate shot to give them a good idea of what the car looks like. Okay, pretty good. Nice. Now let's get some oh, it's going the wrong way. All right. Got the Lamborghini Centenario, the 2016. Although I didn't look at the actual date on the car. So this is going to be car number 567. This is going to be entered in. Lamborghini Centenario Roadster. Okay. Oh, I guess it was. I let this go, but what I forgot to do was actually start the video. That might be helpful in the case where I'm taking video of the car. All right, so now we've got the video rolling. Lamborghini Centenario Roadster. I didn't grab the year off of that one. But now, question is, let me take a look at the back end. And it's kind of rounded. It's not flat, which would be more ideal, but you can't have everything. So in this case, we've got the Lamborghini with the sort of curved back. And again, I'm not sure how it's going to work. And then also interesting is the way the windshield comes all the way up, that Lamborghini, that angled windshield. And then even though it is a roadster and there's no roof, the windows are up on the sides. So it's going to be interesting what happens to the air as it comes up over that windshield, that open area. How does the open area of the car right here, how does that affect it as the air comes up over the top? Like, how does this empty sort of cavern, because the windows are up, how does that affect the air? How does that affect the performance of the car? We'll have to see. Got the diffusers, and it's a whole. This car, I don't know. Let's see how much it weighs. Since we checked the others. Lamborghini Centenario Roadster comes in at 29 grams. So it is slightly, it weighs just a little less than the others. Let me take a look at the year on this. 2018. But the issue and the question, the big question is whether or not it can actually stay on the track. And as I said, Lamborghinis have been kind of hit or miss, and sometimes they perform really well. There is a Lamborghini that the students pick on a regular basis that definitely does a really good job. And then, of course, there's the one that I mentioned, and I don't know the model. It may be the same as this. I'll have to check when we go to the track, but I don't know. It's going to be one of those things. We'll have to see exactly how it performs. So I want to check on one of the other cars, that GT Racer, and see, I think we said it was 470. No, that was the Macalister. The GT Racer. So I'm gonna go check, see if I can pull that GT Racer, and then I'll come back and we'll head to the track. So the countdown is about to say 5 minutes. It's not gonna be 5 minutes. It's gonna be like 2 minutes at most. But I'm gonna check on the GT Racer, and then we'll come back and we will get back and head to the track and see if anybody can dethrone the Mazda. So I'll be right back. Okay, so I checked, and the that GT Racer is fine. So the new GT Racer will not be getting entered in. I might do some races between them to see, but nevertheless, that is not what we are most anxious to see right now. So what I'm going to do is I am going to go out to the track, and we are going to see if any of these cars can take down the Mazda Miata MX-5. Double check something. Yeah, 2015 Mazda MX-5 Miata. That is our champion. That is the car that we are going to see if it can hold on or if it's going to be defeated. So I will see you. Oh, wait, let me explain one last thing before we get to the track. Just in case you have not watched an At the Track Live race before, when we switch over to the track view, this is what you are going to see. I thought I brought it up, but I didn't. Okay, well, let me see if I have it here, and then I can show you. There we go. The 3-shot track view right here. There we go. So our track view is split into 3 sections. So on the far left, you have the beginning section of the track. You can see the launcher at the very top of the screen. I'll give a countdown, 3, 2, 1, race. I will hit the switch. The cars will come flying out of the launcher, and they will come down toward the bottom of the screen. After they pass out of the bottom of the screen on the far left, you can pick them up at the top of the screen in the middle. That is the middle section of our track. You will see the cars come racing through that screen from top to bottom. Once they pass out of the bottom section of the track, you can pick them up in the third section on the far right, our finish line camera. The cars will come from the top and they will come to the bottom and they will pass across our finish line, and the winning car will be signified by a solid red light, and the losing car will be indicated by a flashing red light. So solid red light indicates the winner, flashing red light indicates the losing car. So now you have that information. So I am going to grab these cars and I will see you over at the track in 30 seconds. Okay, here we are at the track. Let me just check the audio levels, because there was an issue a few months ago where the audio wasn't going, but looks like we've got the audio. All right, great. So now we are going to find out if any of these cars can take out the other. So here's that. This is the Lamborghini that always crashes that I mentioned. This is an Aventador J, so it is different than the Lamborghini that we will be racing today, the Centenario. So let's see, get these cars lined up and see which ones are going to do something impressive. Let's see. Well, let's start off and just see whether or not this the Lamborghini can even cut it. So we'll go with the Lamborghini and the Cloud Cutter. That'll be our first matchup today, the Lamborghini versus the Cloud Cutter. So let's see if this Lamborghini can actually stay on the track. And as you saw with the rules, there is it's best 2 out of 3. And if a car crashes twice consecutively, it is disqualified. And typically what happens is, if a car does in fact crash twice in a row, there's some reason why. It's either not getting a good launch, it's too light, there's some reason. So testing it over and over and over again really isn't going to change the fact that it continues to crash. So I just drew the limit at, if a car crashes twice consecutively, that's it, it's disqualified, we move on. So we will see if the Lamborghini and the Cloud Cutter can stay on. They are lined up. So we've got the Cloud Cutter in lane 1. We've got the Lamborghini Centenario Roadster in lane 2. And let's see what happens. Three, two, one, race. Okay, so the Lamborghini took it. The Cloud Cutter crashed at the end, or near the end, it hit one of the barriers, popped off, and crashed. So, because that is what happened, we are going to throw that race out and go ahead and restart it. Let me make an adjustment there. Okay. And it's strange. I think we had that happen once before, because usually if a car is going to crash, they typically crash at the beginning. They hit this first barrier and crash because it's usually a matter of not getting a very good launch and coming out of the gate kind of crooked or sideways or something, and that's usually what does the car in. But it is, there are occasions, which we just saw, where the car crashes further down the track. Now it's strange, because usually by the time they're that far down the track, they've straightened up, and more importantly, they've begun to slow down. I mean, gravity is working, friction, like they've started to slow down. So it's unusual for a car to crash that late in the race, and there's nothing wrong with the track, so I don't know, just one of those things. All right, so we've got them lined up again. We've got the Centenario Roadster in lane 2 and the Cloud Cutter in lane 1. Let's see what happens. Three, two, one, race. And we basically saw the same result that we saw the first time. The only difference is that the Cloud Cutter actually crossed the finish line. So the Centenario Roadster took the race. We are going to switch lanes and see if that makes a difference for the Cloud Cutter, if it can get back into this, or if the Lamborghini will be moving on. Lamborghini looked good in both of those races, so we'll have to see if the Cloud Cutter has anything in the tank to challenge the Lamborghini and make this a little closer contest, because the Lamborghini definitely won by a wide margin. So there's no reason to think that, and it did it twice. That's the thing. It wasn't just a fluke. It wasn't, a one-off. We saw, even though the Cloud Cutter crashed that first time, it's not like it was leading the race and then it crashed. It just crashed. All right, so let's see here. We've got both these cars lined up. So this time they've switched lanes. We've got the Lamborghini in lane 1. We've got the Cloud Cutter in lane 2. Let's see what happens. Three, two, one, race. And the Lamborghini, no joke, destroys the Cloud Cutter, and as we've noted in other races, it's a question of, so yes, the Lamborghini looked fast, the Lamborghini appears to be fast, but maybe the Cloud Cutter is just slow. So it's hard to know until there are some more races whether the Lamborghini is extremely fast, or if the Cloud Cutter is just extremely slow and made the Lamborghini look good. I don't know. All right, next up, let's see. We will go, let's go with the Cadillac and the Alfa Romeo and see what happens. I'm very curious about this Cadillac and whether or not it will get a good solid launch. Now this Alfa Romeo, I forget what the weight was on that, but it wasn't too much different than any of the other cars, but it feels light. It's just holding it, it just has it feels light. And that may or may not work in its favor, but it definitely feels very light. Trying to get it lined up, and this is the one that I picked up because it caught my eye because of these unique wheels that I hadn't seen before. But now, trying to get it lined up in the starting block, it doesn't want to cooperate. Let's see. Come on, Alpha. And it's important that the cars are lined up right, pressed up right against the starting block, because if they are not, then what happens is the starting block punches the car instead of pushing the car. And if it punches the car, it's more likely to fly up in the air and have some other things happen to it. The Cadillac, again, it has that point at the background, so it's not a lot of surface area touching the launcher, so I'm not expecting really good things. So I don't know. This is going to be interesting. Let's see what happens. The Cadillac's in lane 2, Alfa Romeo's in lane 1. Here we go. Three, two, one, race. Interesting. The Alfa Romeo, it bumped a section of the track, and when it bumped that section of the track, it slowed down, and then it went further down the track, and it banged against the side of the track and slowed down even further. But instead of crashing, it actually crossed the finish line. Very slow, very late, but it crossed the finish line. Because it crossed the finish line, that counts as a loss. Had it actually crashed and left the track when it had the opportunity, then that race would have been thrown out, and it would have gotten another chance to beat the Cadillac. But it didn't. So we will simply switch lanes, and here, and the Cadillac will now be in lane number 1, lined up pretty easily. Alfa Romeo will be in lane number 2. Okay, so can the Alfa Romeo stay on the track, make it down the track, make this competitive? I don't know. We'll see. Here we go. Three, two, one, race. Now that's what the Alfa Romeo should have done in the first race. If it was going to lose, at least crash, get the results thrown out, and then you get another opportunity. However, as a result of that crash, now the Alfa Romeo must stay on the track. If it crashes again, it's done. So we're redoing this race. Alfa Romeo is going to have to stay on the track, which may be asking a lot of this car. It's just, I don't know, it's something about it. It seems light, but I know that we weighed it, so it's not like it's super light, but it's just having trouble getting a good clean run. And if it crashes again, that's two consecutive crashes, and so it's disqualified. So it had one kind of sloppy run, then it had a crash, and now it had better stay on the track. It's hard to tell how it will perform if it actually does stay on the track, but the Cadillac Elmiraj is having no troubles thus far So, all right, here we go. Cadillac's in lane 1, Alfa Romeo's in lane 2. We will see what happens. Three, two, one, race. The Alfa Romeo was not ready to go home, was not ready to call it quits, and actually stayed on the track, had its first clean run of the day, and beat the Cadillac. So now we're going to go to a third race. The Cadillac has won. The Alfa Romeo has won. And the Cadillac, it's kind of interesting because the Alfa Romeo, that was its first clean run of the day. And it had a clean run, and in having a clean run, it beat the Cadillac just outright, just beat it. So the question is, can the Alfa Romeo have another good, solid, clean run? If it can, it will move on. If it can't, then, it will join a long list of cars that looked promising but couldn't get the job done. All right, and the Cadillac, let's see. All right, we've got both the cars lined up. We've switched lanes, so now the Cadillac is in lane 2. The Alfa Romeo is in lane 1. Let's see what happens. Three, two, one, race. Oh! The Alfa Romeo is beaten, and it's too bad because I noticed as it was going down the track, it actually went up on two wheels, off to the right. It went off to the right on two wheels like that, and then it came back down. And when it came back down, it had lost too much ground to the Cadillac, which stayed on the track the entire time. So the Alfa, it's an interesting car. When it's able to stay on the track, it seemed to do pretty well. The problem is that of the 3 times it raced, it was only able to stay on the track and have a clean run once. So the Cadillac moves on, along with the Lamborghini. And so now we're down to the Macalister Superfin, the Fast and Furious Spy Racers car, and the BMW M3. So let's get those lined up and see what happens. Now both of these cars are interesting because they both have a fin in the back, a wing, and that wing, at least on the Superfin car, the wing is flat. And if I can get it lined up here, get it pressed into place, good. And then on this BMW, that wing is also flat. And that's really good because it gives a lot of surface area, good flat surface area for the launching blocks. And with the launching blocks, they're pressing right up against these wings and then shooting the cars out. All right. So we've got them lined up. We've got the Macalister Superfin in lane 1, and we've got the BMW M3 in lane 2, and it is time to see what happens. Race 1. Three, two, one, race. So the Macalister Superfin crashed right out of the gate. So we will throw out the results and restart that race. Hopefully it can stay on the track It's a tough thing. As I said, most of the time when cars crash, they crash at the very beginning. And it is because there is so much force that pushes these cars out of the starting block that when you watch in slow motion, the cars often, depending on their weight and some other factors, the cars fly up into the air. And it's the reason why I have these acrylic covers on the track. It's because the covers prevent the cars from flying up in the air and off the track. But what does happen is once the cars hit the acrylic cover, they come back down, and if they're able to sort of stabilize quickly, then they can go on and have a good run down the track. But some of the cars don't get stabilized before they get to that first barrier, that first barricade right here and here, and they smash into it and they crash. If that happens to the Macalister Superfin again, it's gone, it's out, and the BMW will move on. But we are redoing race number 1. The Macalister Superfins in lane 1, BMW M3s in lane 2. Let's see what happens. Three, two, one, race. Wow, not sure what happened with the BMW, but it got a horrible launch. It lost so much speed right from the beginning. I couldn't see anything. It didn't hit anything that I'm aware of. It just got a terrible launch. But because it didn't crash, and it did cross the finish line, albeit very slowly, it lost that race. So now we're going to have to switch sides, and we will see if the BMW can have a better performance from lane 1 than it did in lane 2. And it had better, or it will be eliminated. So got the BMW there. Macalister Superfin lined up here in lane number 2. Okay, and let's see how it goes. Three, two, one, race. This time the BMW crashed, so it's not looking good for the BMW. The Macalister Superfin, it had a crash, and it rebounded and came back with a really strong performance. The BMW is going to need to do something similarly, otherwise it is going to be gone. It needs to win, and it needs not to crash. If it loses, it's out. If it crashes, it's out. So all the Macalister Superfin has to do really is just stay on the track and ideally win. But the BMW, this is it. It's got to it's going to need to perform this time around, otherwise could be trouble. So let's see here. Macalister Superfin is lined up and ready to go. If the Macalister takes it out of lane 2, then it will move on. So let's see what happens. Three, two, one, race. the BMW with another of those miserable performances. It came out and just, I don't know. I don't know if it has something to do with the wing or I don't know what's going on with that car, but that is by far one of the slowest cars and performances I've ever seen on this track. There's nothing wrong with the car necessarily, but I don't know. I'd have to go back and look at the video and see why it's getting such terrible launches. It's just so slow. I mean, it was slow. It was as slow as some of the cars with the real riders, the rubber tires. It's slower than some of the heavy cars from the 70s, the all-metal cars. But nevertheless, the Superfin takes that race, and we'll be moving on. So the BMW M3, it's a good-looking car, but it is slow. Oh, I wonder if those little skinny, weird... Remember I was saying that I thought that the wheels were more narrow than the other car? Maybe that came into play. I don't know, but that was a terrible performance. I've rarely seen a car that crossed the finish line move that slowly, but it is what it is, and we are moving on. So next up, we're going to go with the Lamborghini versus the Cadillac Elmiraj. Let's get those two lined up as we try to figure out which car is going to take today's tournament, and then also which car is going to move on to face our champion, the Miata MX-5. Let me get this Lamborghini lined up in lane 1. You're going to get the Cadillac lined up in lane number 2. Stay right there. Okay. Lamborghini Centenario Roadster in lane 1, Cadillac Elmiraj lane 2. Let's see what happens. Three, two, one, race. Woo. Good race. That Cadillac is faster than I gave it credit for. It still lost. The Lamborghini took that one clearly, but we will switch sides of the track and see if the Cadillac can pull out a win. This is going to be interesting because this Lamborghini is looking pretty quick, and if it takes this race, it will definitely move on to face the Miata. So let's get these two cars lined up. Get the Cadillac in lane number 1. Right there. Oh, good to go. Just want to make sure it's straight. Okay. And then the Lamborghini is going to be in lane number 2. It is right there. Let's get it pressed up against the block. It doesn't seem to want to cooperate. Try again. Get it dialed in right there. Come on. There we go. All right. So now we've got the Lamborghini lane 2, Cadillac Elmiraj lane 1. Let's see what happens. Three, two, one, race. Woo-hoo. The Lambo takes it, moves on. Another good race. The Cadillac is a solid car. It just seems like this Lamborghini is particularly fast, and that is definitely going to be interesting to see as it moves on. So now we're going to have the Lamborghini against the Superfin, and the Superfin moved on in its races against that BMW, which just really underperformed. There's some cars that are surprises, and they're usually surprises because they're fast, but every once in a while you get a car that's surprisingly slow, and for whatever reason, today that car was the BMW, that M3. So now we're moving on. We've got the Superfin, the Macalister Motors Superfin, which is part of the Fast and Furious Spy Racers line. So the Macalister Superfin is in lane 2. We've got the Lamborghini Centenario Roadster in lane 1. Let's see what happens. This is our finals. Three, two, one, race. Whoa! The Superfin took it, and the Centenario, clearly something happened on the start, because that was reminiscent of the BMW performance. It was just so slow out of the gate. I don't know what happened. Now it's possible that it rolled away from the start. So I told you that I have the cars pressed up against the starting block, and it's possible that it rolled forward slightly away from the starting block, and therefore the starting block would have punched it instead of pushing it out. So let's see. Let me just double check something, because that was particularly weird. Okay. The launcher's working. So, Superfin takes it. And now we will line the cars up on the opposite lane. So now the Lamborghini is in lane 2. We have the Lamborghini Centenario Roadster, lane 2. The Macalister Superfin, lane 1. Macalister's up, 1 race to none. Let's see what happens. Three, two, one, race. Wow! There was no mistaking what just happened there. The Macalister Superfin blew the doors off the Lamborghini. I mean, that was not close at all, and not at all what I expected. Wow. That was shocking. I really didn't expect the Macalister Superfin to destroy the Lamborghini. In fact, I expected the Lamborghini to actually win. That was stunning, and so stunning, in fact, that just now the Macalister Superfin is the car that is going to move on. I'm just curious if that was a one-off situation, or if the Macalister Superfin is really that much faster than the Lamborghini, because wow, that was some statement victory by the Macalister. And so I'm just lining these up again because I just want to see if that was, I mean, again, the Macalister's moving on, but I'm just curious to know whether or not that was what that was. So let's take a look. This is not official. This is just satisfy my curiosity. So here we go. 3, 2, 1, race. Okay, yeah. So the Macalister, it still won. It just wasn't by as big a margin as that last race. So sometimes things happen, weird things happen. But Nevertheless, the Macalister Superfin is today's winner, today's tournament winner for the new cars that have been entered into the fleet. And those are the Cloud Cutter, the BMW M3, the Alfa Romeo, the Cadillac Elmiraj, and the Lamborghini Centenario Roadster. Now, the Superfin gets to take on the Mazda Miata. And the Mazda Miata has been our champion. It is our champion. It's our reigning, defending champion. The Mazda Miata has cars in the mail, on the way, from Jimbo to Salmon, that he picked that are going to challenge it. But if the Superfin does what it's been doing, then the two Cadillacs that are in the mail won't be challenging the Mazda Miata. They will be challenging our potentially new champion, the Macalister Motors Superfin. So we're going to get these cars lined up. We're going to put the Superfin is in lane 2. The Mazda MX-5 Miata is in lane 1. This is to determine the fastest car in the fleet. And we will see exactly what happens. Okay, here we go. Race number 1. 3, 2, 1, race. And the Mazda crashes out of the gate. So we will start that race all over. See what happens. Let's get it lined up again. The Miata has crashed in the past, but you know, not to worry. It's recovered. So we're going to not gonna be too overly concerned about that that outcome. Not yet. Let's make sure this is straight. Trying to. All right. Got the Mazda lined up. Let me go get the Superfin, which is chilling, waiting at the finish line. Like, okay, fine. I'll take a test run. No problem. So we're going to see if the Superfin can come out of nowhere and become the new fastest in fleet car, or if it is going to join the ranks of all those cars that have tried to defeat the Mazda but have come up short. So here we go. We've got the Mazda MX-5 Miata in lane 1. We've got the Macalister Motors Superfin in lane 2. Let's see what happens. Three, two, one, race. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. The Macalister Motors Superfin beat the Miata. And it beat the Miata by a wide margin. So now we are going to change lanes. And we are going to see if the Miata, let me adjust the track just a little bit. We're going to see if the Miata can come back. In order to win, in order to keep its title, the Miata is going to have to win 2 races in a row because it's down right now. This is best 2 out of 3. This is AtTheTrack.live. And the Miata lost by so much. That was a wide mark. That was not even close. So, presuming that everything goes the way it's been going, we may have a brand new fastest in fleet car. this may be the new standard. So let's see. We've got the Macalister Motors Superfin lined up, lane 1, and we're getting the Mazda Miata lined up, lane number 2. Trying to get it right up against the launching block. It's rolling out just a little bit, so you've got to make an adjustment. And okay, it's lined up and ready to go. This is it. If the Mazda cannot come back and defeat the Superfin, we will have a brand new champion. So let's see what happens. Mazda Miata, our current champion, in lane 2. The Macalister Motors Superfin in lane number 1. The Macalister's up 1-0. Let's see what happens. Three, 2, 1, race. The race was closer. The race was significantly closer. However, the outcome and the results were exactly the same. And what happened was the Macalister Superfin took the title away from the Mazda Miata. We have a brand new, fastest in fleet, all about aerodynamics, AtTheTrack.live champion. And that was kind of surprising. Wasn't expecting to see it, but let's go back to the garage, take a look at our new champion, and see what we can make of these latest developments. So hang on, I'll be back over at the track, leaving the track, going back to the garage. Just give me a second. So here it is. We have a brand new, all about aerodynamics, AtTheTrack.live champion. The Macalister Superfin. I think it deserves a close-up. Dethroned. And really, for all intents and purposes, kind of destroyed the Mazda. The Mazda crashed in the first race, and then the Superfin blew it out in the second race, in the race that got restarted. So that was already, it served notice that it was not going to be playing around. And then it just had a close race in the third and final race, but which was technically the second race, because the first one where the Mazda crashed, the Mazda, we just tossed out that result. But wow, this was a pretty stunning upset. The Mazda had been running through and destroying most of the cars that it had come up against for the past month, really. But this Macalister Motors Superfin from the Fast and Furious Spy Racers series has now taken the title. This is the champion, and it is the fastest in fleet car. And if you follow all about aerodynamics at our on our Instagram channel at AA Aerodynamics. This week you will see promotional material giving props to our new fastest in fleet car. And what that does mean is that when I receive the 2 Cadillacs, that the faster than ever, the Cadillac V16 concept cars that Jimbo the Salmon wanted us to race, once I receive those cars, then they will not be racing against the Mazda. They will be racing against the next 6 cars that we bring into the fleet, and then they will be challenging the Macalister Superfin, because that is our newest, fastest in fleet car, our champion. And this is interesting, and this is also why you have to race the cars, because you never know. I said at the beginning that I thought that this was sort of the this group of cars today had the best chance to beat the Mazda. This was sort of going to be the stiffest competition that the Mazda has faced thus far, and apparently I was right. We had some good races, some surprises. The Cadillac did much better than I expected. We had the Cloud Cutter, which performed under expectations, but that BMW M3, there was something off with that car because it was so slow. I don't know if it's the wheels, I don't know what it is, because it didn't crash. I didn't see it hit any of the barriers or the barricades, so it wasn't that. It was just slow. And like I said, I've only seen cars that slow. Typically, it's either heavy cars or cars that have the real riders, so the rubber tires, because there's too much friction and they are not fast at all. But that was a surprise. But I think the bigger surprise was that the way that the Mazda went out, and that was pretty surprising. I just want to check again, because I remember the Mazda was weighed 30 grams, and the let's see what this Macalister Superfin weighs. This would be, let's see, it is 34.2 grams, so it's like roughly 4.5 grams heavier than the Macalister, but it got the job done. So we have a new champion, a new fastest in fleet car, which is exciting. There are also going to be some new things happening on our Instagram page. So we're going to start the car hunt series, so you'll be able to see some of the cars that I've picked up throughout the week. And once I get the 2 Cadillacs in the mail, that's already setting up races for next week's episode of At the Track Live. So a lot of things happening, and all of this At the Track Live, the races, the car hunt series, all of this is really just built off of the base of All About Aerodynamics, which is the science program. And if you'd like to learn more about how we can bring All About Aerodynamics to your school, to your organization, to your special event, and have your students learn about physics, learn about aerodynamics, learn about all of these various related concepts, and race Hot Wheels cars and have fun, all you have to do is go to our website, aaAerodynamics.com, or you can just go to AtTheTrack.live, and there's a link at the top where you can go and you can learn about the different programs and classes that we offer. There's information about the online version of All About Aerodynamics, and you can find out how we can help your students we'll help them love learning. If they don't already love learning, we'll help them love learning about these science topics, and they'll have fun, guaranteed. So, this has been an interesting day, and we have a new champion, and we have some challengers on the way as we speak. They will soon be delivered by the post office, and we will have a new series of challenges and races. And if you want to pick a car, all you have to do is go to AtTheTrack.live, choose a car, go to our page, find the car you want to pick, the car that you think can beat the Macalister Motors Superfin. Take that number, drop it in the chat, we'll pull the car, and then we'll have the race and see if you're right. Maybe you can identify the car that can beat this one. Maybe you can't. I don't know. We'll see how long the Macalister Superfin's run is, but for now, it is the champion, and I am Coach James. So for All About Aerodynamics and At the Track Live, I will see you at the races.